Well, new year, same me, but better me than last year. And I don't know about you, but I want to be way better than this at the end of 2025. And oh boy, do I have a plan on how to get there. But you see, I'm the type of guy who can't stop thinking about 10 different possibilities on how to get to or do something that I'm really excited in. But I know that not everyone is like me, and some of us have no idea on how to improve. Well, fret not, because I am here, your hero without a cape or mouth or long hair, to help guide you future art prospects to big gains through this plan that will guide your art studies throughout the entire year, month by month. And at the end of it, I would like to share some of my plans for my own art and this channel for the rest of the year. A bit of a disclaimer, this is obviously only a template, so for people who are a bit more experienced, feel free to move things around as you see fit. However, keep in mind that each month compounds with the learning from the previous few months. Another thing is that even though I will be showing examples, I will not be going in depth on each of these topics, or else this video would be 3 hours long. But feel free to look through my channel, as I will have several guides in the upcoming year going over these topics, not to mention a few that I've already made. So without further ado, let's get into January. At this point, I'm guessing you're at the very start of learning art. Maybe you've made a few characters here and there, but are now looking into really getting into it, or you're just starting from scratch. Either way, the first thing I would like you to do is to start practicing basic shapes, mastering the originator of all things, the creator of all objects, the almighty box, and learning how to draw it from multiple angles and in basic perspectives will be a huge boost on how to start thinking in 3D. And once you get the hang of the box, start doing the same thing with other shapes in 3D. And while you're doing that, I would like you to carve out 15 minutes for a few days a week doing 3-minute gesture drawings for a total of 15 to 20 total drawings per week. Gesture drawings are just simple depictions of the human figure using basic lines and curves. This will really help you with control of your lines and shape language. Finally, to help you not burn out from all this boring box and gesture studies, although they are very important, feel free to copy a few things that you want to draw in the meantime. However, as we have not touched on colors yet, keep the copying only to the line art. Next up in February, keep up the gesture drawings doing the same exact schedule as last month. Next, let's put those shapes to use and learn how to construct basic human body from shapes. We're not worrying about the anatomy yet, just try to get the proportions of each part of the body correct just using basic shapes. And finally, on top of that, let's advance these shapes by drawing them in distorted ways in perspective. Try twisting and cutting them however you see fit, getting a feel for how they would look in 3D space. And of course, while you're doing all of this, you can study and copy whatever you want still, but keeping it only to the line art. In March, let's ramp up the gesture drawing, as you've been pretty used to it by now, only doing 2-minute sketches for 20 minutes. Trying to optimize your line strokes and getting a feel for the human body is the name of the game in doing gestures. And now those shapes we've been drawing in empty space, let's start to add some perspective in there. Try drawing multiple of them together in the same 1 and 2 point perspective plane grids. Then let's start to delve into a bit of anatomy, starting with the most important part of the body, the head. Studying the basics about every main point like the skull, eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. Finally, going back to those copy drawings that I've been saying to do so that you keep your sanity, keep doing them, but now narrow your focus to doing portraits and heads, as that will be the main focus of the month. In April, you guessed it, more gesture drawings, keeping up the same schedule as in March. Moving on from the head, let's learn some proper body anatomy, like the main muscle groups in the chest, torso, and arms, the upper body. And on top of that, we're gonna start to learn some basic light theory, like how shadows and light work, but without the coloring part, as we haven't gone to colors yet. And luckily for you guys, I just made a video going over the basics of light. However, unluckily, it's a bit advanced going over how light interacts with colors in paintings. However, I think there's still a lot of value to be gained, even from beginners just watching it. Beyond that, it would be best to focus your copy studies on the upper half of the body, moving beyond just the head portraits of last month, and even trying to shade them at this point. In May, we're keeping up on that gesture drawing streak. At this point, I bet you're feeling pretty good about your your 2-minute drawings, so let's ramp up things by alternating between 5 1-minute sketches and 5 2-minute sketches, as I feel these 1-minute sketches will really challenge you at this point. Then working on the lower body of the anatomy, going over the waist and leg muscle and bones. And finally, we can finally work on these colors. I go full in-depth on colors in a previous video, going over the basics of coloring from all you need to know on how to make a full painting. Also, it's my most liked video, so you know it's pretty good. And now that you know how to shade and color, you can finally go ham and fully color all of those amazing drawings that I know you want to study and copy. In June, we're in the final month of gesture drawing for now, keeping the same schedule as in May. To brush up on our perspective skills, let's revisit those shapes and start to create more advanced objects. And better yet, let's place them in not 1 or 2, but 3-point perspective. Then we can practice on those hands and feet you oh so despise. And finally, for this month, let's do something a little different. Rather than copying the things you see online, let's go out and sketch some of the things we see outside. Yes, I know, we're touching grass. Even doing a bit of people watching and sketching. If you're too shy to do this, then do it anyway. Trust me, I've done this plenty of times before. People do not care about a person sitting on a bench and sketching. And I think June would be a pretty decent time to do this, as it's not insanely hot as it gets in July or August as it does in good old Texas. It's now July, and I bet you have a pretty decent grasp on drawing people and objects in perspective. So let's put those things to the test by going over the basics of environmental art. Starting small with things like how to make buildings or trees or whatever, and building up to more and more things. Then let's put on our thinking caps and do some basic character designs, taking inspiration from whatever you see fit to create a few characters from the same world. And finally, to help with that light and color that we did from before, let's do some life drawing with a time limit of let's say 3 hours or so. Alright, August, let's continue with even more character designs, but looking more specifically at how other artists design their own characters and trying to mirror some of their choices. Doing this and trying to create a new set of characters for a new world different from the one that you made last month. Next, let's do some figure drawing, a bit like gesture drawing as you were doing before, using the same references, but now it's more detailed, adding things like shadows and key muscle groups. And let's say we do this for 15 minutes. And ending it off, let's do some studies of environments, a bit of an evolution from the basic boring still lifes from last month. In September, we continue our figure drawing, but now with only 10 minutes to complete each of them. And to brush up on our perspective and anatomy, let's draw the full human body in 1, 2, and 3-point perspective, making sure that you have the correct anatomy this time. And for something a little different, let's do some creature design and animal studies, as we don't want to get stuck in the mindset of only knowing how to draw people. October is Art Challenge Month. The most common one in October is Inktober, but feel free to do whatever challenge you want, with the key thing doing that you can find something to draw for 30 days straight. If I did it for 1,000, I'm sure you can do it for 30. And to be honest, this month can probably be swapped around with any of the other months, but I feel like October would be the best balance between knowing how to do things now and kind of feeling like you need a break. In November, now we should be pretty advanced in the stages of drawing, especially compared to the beginning of the year. So let's try to do full entire scenes in 1, 2, and 3-point perspective, combining the things that you've learned and studied about characters, environments, and objects. Then after that, let's revisit gesture drawing, as it's always crucial that you're improving your line, shape, and body language. Finally, ending the month with one master study, finding a single artist that you admire and completely studying / copying one of their pieces. One thing that can really help in this is finding all of their art and putting them right next to each other and trying to find a few details that remain consistent. Better yet, even finding speed paints that they've posted can really help in this process. For the final month of December, it's time to put everything that we've learned to the test. This month will be broken up into 2 week parts. The first part will be reviewing. Go over everything that we previously went over in this video: lighting, color, anatomy, gesture drawing, whatever. Then in the second week, I want you to try and attempt to create a narrative. A narrative is basically a series of drawings that connect together to form a story. Basically like creating your own manga or webtoon, but without any words, just drawings. Each of the drawings should be well thought out scenes that work together. And once you complete that, your art training is complete and you are a certified art legend. Well, at least in my books. One thing I forgot to mention earlier at the very beginning is to try to make a drawing at the very start of the year for something to compare to at the end. That way you can get an accurate grasp of how much you've actually really improved over the year. So moving on, let's get on to my grand plans for this year. Starting with my own art growth, I feel that I've grown immensely in the past year when it comes to character proportions, composition, and rendering quality. However, I'm really starting to feel my lack of experience when it comes to perspective and construction that's supposed to support this rendering quality. And so in the first half of this year, I'll be dedicating most of it to strengthening my perspective and line quality, which means a lot of art books. And in the latter half of the year, I'm planning on practicing a bit of environment and narrative art, as I feel my art is also lacking in a bit of direction at the moment. Sure, it looks pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but where is the story? That's the question that I've been asking myself for the past few months. Beyond that, my plans for the channel will mostly stay the same, posting a video between every 1 or 2 weeks, but I would like to speed up this production and quality. But again, working on this channel, my own personal art and college is kind of a lot, so I won't make any promises that I 100% can't keep. But I do like to set my sights high, so I'm hoping that I can hit the big 100k by the end of this year. I know that's a lot, but I really want to get that check mark next to my name. So I know I don't say this often, but if you've gotten to this point, I would really appreciate a subscribe. And I look forward to you guys seeing my growth over the next year. I'll probably make an update video near the end of it. But anyways, happy New Year's, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.